will be a fun little adventure looking at the O antiphons. So do I just dive in, Ryan? Or should I wait? Or
I think we're still a few minutes early.
Okay, fantastic.
So we can give people I see there are a few people coming into the waiting room.
Perfect. Oh.
So Susan, what was the path of your turkey trot?
So we started at our house, which is up just beyond Royal School on Old Lane. And then we went out the back way. So we cut over to Leroy, came down Leroy, went through the train station, back behind the post office, back by Grove Street Plaza, behind the post office, down onto Andrews Drive and back around, coming back up like Delafield to Salem Straits, and then up Salem Straits to the very bottom of Salem Straits where we hit the water again.
Nice.
So it was good. And it was just 5K, so it was perfect. I truly couldn't have done a step more. Although maybe I could have. It's all, that's the point of my story, I guess. If we have somebody to follow, and we got our God to follow, he gets us going step after step.
Getting the slipstream.
Getting the slipstream, yeah. Wow. So I would have run right by you, Diana Kalman. How are you? Good. I think you're on mute still.
Well, by my clock, we have 11:15. So
okay.
Let's get going.
All right, let's get going then. Okay, just as I was actually not on last Sunday because I was baptizing a beautiful little miracle baby. So, but I missed it. So I just don't know whether all of you were on it. So I just want to give a brief little recap to let you know that on this forum during Advent, we are considering 4 of what are called the antiphons, the O antiphon. And an antiphon is simply a short line of prayer or song that's placed before or after a psalm or canticle. So these O antiphons each invoke a identity of the Messiah that's pulled from the Old Testament. And of course, as Christians, we understand the Messiah as having been incarnated in Jesus Christ our Lord, so that these O antiphons and their intimations of this Messiah can be directly sort of connected to Jesus. And all of the O antiphons express this longing for the Messiah's coming. And so they are traditionally sung on the 7 days prior to Christmas, and they are placed on either side of Mary's song, the Magnificat. And so last week, for those who were here, Derek looked at O come, Emmanuel. So the O antiphon that deals with Emmanuel, God with us. And that might be the most famous of the O antiphons, as it gives us the title to that very hymn. But today, the O antiphon that we're going to look at is O wisdom. O wisdom, O come, thou wisdom from on high, who orderest all things mightily. To us the path of knowledge show, and teach us in her ways to go. Now, just for fun, I'm going to ask you to try to guess why it was that when we were dividing up the O's, I chose wisdom. So I'm going to share my screen, and it looks, Mary Byrne, like I can do that quickly. So, and let you consider the 4 antiphons that we were choosing from to help you sort of guess. So here are the antiphons. Almost, here we go. Share. That's not done yet, hang on. Wait a second. Okay. All right, which one of these things is not like the other? Okay, we all remember that from Sesame Street. Okay, Derek yesterday or last week had O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel that mourns in lowly exile here until the Son of God appear. Today is O come, thou wisdom from on high, who orderest all things mightily. To us the path of knowledge show, and teach us in her ways to go. The remaining two are O come, thou Lord of might, who to thy tribes on Sinai's height in ancient times didst give the law in cloud and majesty and awe. And finally, O come, thou branch of Jesse's tree, free them from Satan's tyranny, that trust thy mighty power to save, and give them victory o'er the grave. So why do you think I chose wisdom?
Because wisdom
is personified as a woman.
You got it. You got it. Absolutely. Right. I chose wisdom because wisdom is feminine. And for me, that's huge. Hang on, I'm trying to get out of my stop sharing. Get back to that. Yeah, I chose wisdom because it's feminine. In Hebrew, the word is chokmah, which is a feminine noun. In Greek, it's Sophia, which is also feminine. In Latin, sapientia, also feminine. And even in English, which we know few words use gendered articles. I mean, we talk about boats as she's, isn't she beautiful, or cars, or even some countries, I guess. But wisdom here, even in English, maintains her gender. So I just love that. Teach us in her ways to go. That said, I'm not someone who is particularly fussed by the masculine image and language of our Bible. By God's grace, good fortune, I had a great dad. I don't have, so paternal imagery does not, lands comfortably in my soul. But I recognize that that is not the case for everyone. And so I'm not at all against, in fact, I'm probably in favor of moving towards more gender neutral language in our Bible. And yet at the same time, in this particular case, it speaks to me. And so that wisdom has been considered from the beginning as somehow attached to the feminine, and to therefore the very essence of God is powerful. The only other place where I kind of find gender and interesting, where I hold a stronger feeling around gender is in the blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. We often move to blessed is the one for those same sort of gender reasons. But for me, I like to say in my heart, blessed is he, because as I understand it, at least so far in my life and in my theology, although I'm open to change, we still do understand Jesus to have been incarnated, or God to have been incarnated, as it happens, not because he had to or because it was the only way, but just by that particular incarnation was as a male figure. So I say, blessed is he, but I like it. I mean, you can say whatever you want, and you can call it wisdom of him if it's important to you, so that you can get in. Because I think fundamentally, what all these O antiphons do is, if you kind of go back to the silly image of the blind man and the elephant, they allow us to touch God and to approach God and to have an avenue into a relationship with God through different sort of avenues. So when I need when I need a hug or a best friend, I might go to Emmanuel, because that's what I need. I need that closeness, that very humanness. When I need discernment or sense of wonder at the ordering of all things, I could go to wisdom, because that's what wisdom brings to me. I might go to, if I need grounding, I could go, I think Naomi's going to do the root of Jesse. If you need grounding, then you could go to that sense of Jesus as being grounded, the very ground of our being, the root of Jesse. It's totally deep into tradition. And of course, the Lord of Might, we're often looking for a powerful God. Today, I think we're looking for a powerful God. So you could go to, Adonai, Lord of Might. So I think that in general, these O antiphons allow us an invitation to relationship. And that's fundamentally the long and short story of it. God wants to be in relationship with us. So God, it's not, how Paul sort of says he's going to be all things for all people. Well, I think God is the same today, yesterday, forever. And yet our access to him can be different depending upon where we are, less depending upon where God is, but depending upon where we are. Okay, that was a little diversion. Let's go back to sharing my screen for a second. And we will look at some of the places where this O antiphon on wisdom come from. So where in our scripture do we find sort of the roots, if you will, of this wisdom antiphon? Let's see here. Okay. All right. O come, thou wisdom from on high, who orderest all things mightily. To us the path of knowledge show, and teach us in her way to go. So it comes from that first is from Sirach, the Wisdom of Ben Serra, which is one, or also called Ecclesiasticus. That is a book that's in our Apocrypha. So it's one of the extra canonical books. It's one that, depending upon what Bible you happen to have on your bookshelf, on your nightstand, you might have the Apocrypha or not. I know in my collection of Bibles, some have it, some don't. Often the Protestant Bibles were less likely to have it. But this is, you may know Ecclesiasticus largely from our All Saints reading. That's when we read Ecclesiasticus. The idea of singing the song of the praise of, what is it? We sing the praise of ancient men from generations. Ryan, can you recite that off your top of your head?
Let us now praise famous men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let us now sing the praise of each man. But that's in Sirach, chapter 24. I came forth from the mouth of the Most High and covered the earth like a mist. I dwelt in the highest heavens, and my throne was in a pillar of cloud. Also the book of Wisdom. She reaches mightily from one end of the earth to the other, and she orders all things well. And finally from Isaiah, who is very much a prophet. Am I not here? Naomi's coming to help me. What do I got? I thought I was going to get caught. Oh, they can see it over that? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, girlfriend. So from Isaiah 40. And that picture in the middle of your screen is Wisdom Woman from the St. John's Bible. It's a beautiful illumination, which really sort of captures all women, right? It's got Native American, it's got just all sorts of intimations of womanhood. So that's really all I basically have to say about where I think those who wrote this particular antiphon found their words. It looks to me like that's where those words came from. Probably in terms of the Old Testament, the one best known for his wisdom was Solomon, King Solomon, the son of David. And we remember that the Virgin Mary is espoused to Joseph, who is of the house of David. And this, you probably recognize this picture, this illumination. It's from the Judgment of Solomon. And can someone who remembers that story? How did Solomon show how wise he was? Come on, yes, Martha, you know that story.
The two ladies, the two women were sleeping together with their babies, and the baby died. So the woman claimed the live child as hers, and they both go to Solomon, and Solomon doesn't know how to choose which woman was the mother of which baby. So he said, well, we'll simply take the live baby and split them in half, and you can each have half. And then finally, one mother said, no, you know, don't kill him. So he knew that she was the real mother. Although in this picture, Solomon looks like a woman.
In this picture, Solomon, oh, that's interesting. Exactly. And Solomon, but what's interesting to me about Solomon is that Solomon is wise because wisdom is what Solomon asked for. And so I just think that that's sort of a important thing to remember. And this is where Solomon requests of the Lord. The Lord sort of asks him for what he wants, and Solomon replies, "Now, Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, but I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people, to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?" So the idea that Solomon is wise, not because he went to Harvard, not because he read every book that's been written. Solomon is wise because he asked God for wisdom. I think that's really important for us to remember. I think also interesting in this particular passage, that idea of a discerning heart. Those words might ring a familiar bell to you. We use that line in that beautiful prayer during a baptism. We pray for discerning hearts, that they may have a discerning heart, the will to know and to love you, right? So if we want to be wise, and we hear in Luke's 2nd chapter, the same story that tells of Jesus's birth. You remember, soon after Jesus is born, he disappears, he gets lost at the temple, like every good little 12-year-old boy. And they say that he grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God. So I think that all of wisdom is available to us in the asking for it. So to me, that's a very hopeful thing. Back to being Susan Hopeful. Let's see. So the idea of wisdom is found not throughout the Old Testament. The book of Proverbs, for example, which is ascribed to Solomon, is a book almost entirely devoted to wisdom. And maybe the most recognizable proverb in this respect is Proverbs 9:10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You've all heard that proverb. Let's just throw around a little bit. What does that say to you, that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom? How do you understand that? Just jump in, whoever wants to say something. Does that mean that we're to be afraid of God? Is that how you understand that?
No, it's not fear in the sense of fear. I think it's more reverence or awareness, or giving God some kind of authority, or understanding that there's something that's powerful.
Right. And how would awe bring wisdom? Like, how would that kind of awe or respect lead us to wisdom?
Because it makes us realize that there's much we don't know. So we're kind of in awe, we're in wonderment of that which we don't understand. If we think we know everything, we don't need to get any wisdom.
Right. Yeah.
Gets us out away from our own ego, from our own self being number one.
Yes, I think that's true. And I think wisdom does have to do with that, right? Wisdom is definitely a recognition of the enormity. I mean, I think that's part of what being someone who sort of came to Christianity through Judaism in a very real way, because my best friend was Jewish. I think I've told this story before, but my sort of go-to understanding of God is very, very big. And so I think wisdom for me also holds that same enormity. I like to know how things are made. I like to think about how things work, and that idea of like how on earth those stars are being held up there in the sky. It blows my mind every time I look at the Orion's belt, or it's like, wow, that is just so amazing. And it does put you right, in fact, in front of the fact that if you're not standing in awe and wonder, then you have to rethink where you're standing, because there is so much that we don't know and can't know on this side.
So does wisdom lie in being a learn-it-all rather than a know-it-all?
Yeah, I like that, Michael. I learn it all. I think wisdom is like when you take your knowledge and I don't know, like run it out somehow. Like if you take, it's not just a thing that exists, like I know the alphabet, or I know, but then you take that alphabet and you make it work for you and for the world, sort of. I think it's like taking knowledge and making it work for the coming kingdom. That would be a movement from learning to wisdom. I sort of made that up, but that's how that feels like what the difference between knowledge and wisdom is to me. I mean, I think we can grow in wisdom by growing in knowledge. You know, the old saw that the more we know what we don't know, how much we don't know. So I think that knowledge is critical, like growing in knowledge is critical. So your sense of like being learning all the time. But I think there's another move, and I guess I'd welcome kind of other people's thoughts on that. But I think there's another move that takes knowledge.
Susan, I think perhaps I see wisdom more coming from personal experience. In other words, you can learn things from a book or classes, whatever, but I think experience gives you a different dimension.
I really like that, Pinky. I think you're right on that. That it's knowledge, it's lived knowledge, maybe, or something. Yeah, I like that. Early on, wisdom was very much about how to sort of live well, and often in the text, actually, it appears near the word prudence. Like prudence, such an old-fashioned word, but to be prudent is to sort of navigate your life in a way that is going to keep you probably on the tracks. But then wisdom sort of, as the years went on, wisdom took on a bigger kind of sense. Now in our scriptural understanding of wisdom, we understand that wisdom was if wisdom ordereth all things mightily, then wisdom was present at creation. And so everything that was created by it, with it, sort of through it. And so oftentimes wisdom feels cosmic, like while there's that, I'm getting a little bit kind of jumbled here, but I think that in so much of faith and our faith story and our understanding and walking this world, we are carrying like it's a both and. So I think there is an internal wisdom that we carry, a wisdom that we know, that we can draw on. And going back to that sort of young moms group I was telling you about, I think a lot of that is around helping people access that wisdom, that sometimes when it feels like we just have no idea what's going on or what to do or where we are, we really do know if we quiet ourselves, if we are still and know that God is, then that wisdom resides inside ourselves. So there's that very kind of intimate internal wisdom, and wisdom is on high. Wisdom is holding the stars in the sky. Wisdom is cosmic, like the cosmic Christ. And that sort of leads me to the logos. That's a word you guys all have heard. That's a word that's attributed to Jesus in the New Testament. So the O antiphons are drawn largely from the Old Testament, or maybe actually exclusively, but I have to think about that. But the opening of John, let's share this one more time. Oh, let's see if I can do that again. I'm going to do what Naomi showed me to do. I'm going to push this button. Thank you, Naomi. Would someone like to read this opening from John? The Gospel of John. I don't hear anybody.
I'll read it.
I can do it.
I'll read it, Sue.
All right, thanks, Judy.
I can't see the whole thing though. How do I get rid of them?
Oh, you can't? I got rid. You have to hit one of those little buttons on your upper left to go to the far left button on your upper left, upper right.
I got it. Okay, we love this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him, what has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, so cool, right?
Mhm.
So cool. That illumination that you see there on the other side of the screen is the Pillars of Wisdom. That's actually a Donald Jackson, so he did that one. Pretty amazing from the gifts of wisdom. So this idea that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. For me, I understand wisdom in kind of that same light. I believe that whereas Christ did come at a certain time in a certain place as the incarnation of Jesus of Nazareth, and Christ was in the beginning was the Word. And I think for me, wisdom similarly, wisdom was from the beginning, is now, will be. Wisdom has that same sort of eternity to her.
Another thing for me that comes with wisdom is trust.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I'm a great believer in trusting my gut about things. And the darkness does not overcome it. We have to trust that the darkness is not going to overcome it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's true. I suppose that you're absolutely right. Internal wisdom, that when you say trust your gut, I guess what you're trusting is your internal wisdom, right? The wisdom that lies within. Yeah.
Right.
So let me see what else I wanted to sort of share with you about this antiphon and this idea of wisdom. Well, I guess I was just, I'm interested. I like words. So I like the word I like Sophia. I like the fact that it's, comes down from the Greek, and that Plato, of course, was a philosopher. I think Pythagoras was actually the first one who called himself a philosopher, but like philosophy is the love of wisdom. So I just think that I just feel like the more we delve into the different ways that God makes himself apparent and is in us and in our world, the more we see him. So I think that all these antiphons just increase our access to God, because we all of a sudden see everything differently. So we think about philosophy, and we can think about Plato, someone like eons before Jesus, and yet we can say, okay, love of wisdom, what was playing in even back before Jesus Christ came, that spoke of him. It's not just the prophecies that we read in the Old Testament, but if we truly believe that Christ was from the beginning, then he infused all those years when he did not walk this earth in all sorts of ways. And in one of those ways was wisdom. So I just, for me, it takes Jesus and makes him bigger for me, I guess is what all these things do for me. I love the image. I don't know where it is. I can't remember exactly, but where like the whole temple is filled with just like the garment, God's garment. And to think about our world, just that his garment is tucked into every corner. And that can look like wisdom. It can look like power. It can look like peace. It can look like light. It can look like, but when we recognize it as God's spirit among us, for me, it just helps me realize how infused our world is with and by God. And for me, and of course, I think when you live in a sea, it's like swimming in their water. What's your water you're swimming in? If you're swimming in God's holy water, then you can't help but breathe it, live it, be hopeful in it, know that you're surrounded by this thing that's just going to hold you and carry you lead the mother sheep, as we read today from Isaiah. So I guess, if there's anything I would love you to take away, it's that God is so enormous and that he can be approached from so many angles. You may want to approach him through wisdom. You may want to approach him entirely through some other sort of avenue. And it doesn't even have to be an avenue that was written by Isaiah. It can be your own avenue. Like maybe there's just something that you do that brings you to God. It could be through art or painting or words or community or fun. I mean, all those things. We can look at those as our own personal antiphons. We can see God just appearing in all those places. So for discernment, I go to wisdom, and I feel like we have to do a lot of discerning in these days around making choices about staying safe, about how we navigate this world, how we're prudent. So wisdom feels to me like, for this particular moment in time, a pretty good place to hang out. But I just have to share this last slide to show you that when the O's were first introduced as a topic for this forum, It O's in my house mean something very different. So David Pulliam introduced this idea to us, which I think is a wonderful one, by the way. And I think it certainly brings me closer to that hymn when I sing it. It opens things up that I hadn't thought about for a long time. But O's, this is what O's mean in my house when we talk about O's. And this is sort of apt because this is about my mom. All right, this is what O's mean for me. Let's see, I can try this one last time. Share, and there we go. These are what we call in my house the O's. So if my mom had one of these, she had 500. And every Christmas she'd put out the O's and would say, "Are the O's out yet?" And every year I would go help her put away the O's. And these are O's for obvious reasons. But these are our O's. These are the Kavanaugh O's who bring us cheer at Christmas. So they are our O antiphon. And this year, because my mom's no longer with us, this year those O's are all in my house. And I have yet to sort of figure out which go with which story. I know she's got the entire Nutcracker, the entire Salvation Army, the entire Christmas Carol, like Dickens at the wazoo. So those are my O's, and they don't bring me wisdom, but they bring me joy. So they're my O joy antiphon. Yeah. Are there any? I'm afraid I was a little bit. I'm not really used to Zoom presenting, so can we just talk about it a little bit? Who would like to say something about O's? Any O's?
We have the singers also. We call them the singers. And we have one for each person in the family, the two girls and their children. And as each one gets married or has other kids, I keep adding, they're harder to find now.
Yeah, they are.
Whitney Shop has them, but I can't, I need to add a few people.
Few O's.
And our O's too.
Yeah. Let's see, Don Thompson, you're a wise man. What do you have to say?
All right. Am I coming through now?
You are.
Okay. To me, all of this is about the future. And as you said, Susan, the whole thing it's larger than ourselves, and as soon as we appreciate that, then we start participating in the possibility of what can be, and what can be is manufactured out of what currently is, and most of all, what currently isn't. And we're painfully aware of what currently isn't, and that ferments in us the longing for what could be. And I think when to me the O's are speaking longingly to the possibility of what can be.
Absolutely.
And it's all made out of the earth of current reality that makes us aware of what can be. And but it's not just a matter of our minds, it's a matter of also our hearts. As Judy talked about what's in our gut, are things that that we love, that we're associated with, that forms knowledge, that gives direction to knowledge, the way we want to go, the way we're hoping to go. And that, so it's our minds which are sort of clothing that in reality, but it's this longingness of, oh, come quickly, oh, please.
Yes.
We long for that in the future of our relationship, because we know of what we're missing right now. So to me, that's what it's all about. And I'll
Yeah.
share with you the love of what for me always was the gospel at Christmas. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. That was the gospel.
Mhm.
And the Word is the same thing. It's Adonai. So I'm with you in all of that, Susan. I don't know if that helps.
Well, no, thank you, Don, for that. And thank you for, returning us to that idea of longing, because absolutely these antiphons are just in huge expressions. You can just hear the longing in them, just, oh, come. And certainly at this moment, we are feeling a huge amount of longing. And yeah, may that longing bring us to that place of wisdom, on how to manage it.
There's another O that comes to mind when you were talking about awe, the beginning of wisdom, and the awe of God's greatness and wisdom, the O altitudo, sacred.
You're breaking up a little bit, Michael. We lost you for a second. Can you guys see Michael? Is he broken up? Oh,
But can't hear him.
He's frozen.
Yeah.
Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Michael, you're sort of frozen.
Can you hear me now?
Now, yes.
Sort of.
Oh, well.
Maybe they'll go off and come on again. Beverly, did you have something to say?
No, I was just going to tell him that I heard him.
Okay, let me try one more time. Can you hear me now?
We
Yeah.
can.
When you were talking earlier about confronting the vastness and wisdom of God, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, I was reminded of another old O, the O altitudo.
Oh, what?
O altitudo, Latin phrase, which you may be familiar, sacred exhilaration, this sense of rapture when thinking about the magnificence and wisdom of God.
Wow. I have not heard that.
I hadn't either, yeah.
Altitudo, as in altitude?
Yes,
Wow.
the heights.
The heights, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Well, on the above the colonnade at the Middlebury College Chapel, it says the heights of the hills are his also, from the Psalm. And it is it sort of writes your world every time you see it, because it's true. The heights of the hills are his also. I mean, there isn't any place, right? St. Paul in Romans 8, there's just no place, nothing that can separate us from the love of God. And he's given us all these ways to access him and to be in relationship with him. And so to that, we can only say, thank you, Jesus. I feel like, yeah. And now it's on us. Now it's on us to accept that invitation and to develop that relationship, and really to put in the time and the learning, as Michael said earlier, and just the listening. I mean, because it doesn't all have to be, you don't have to go to divinity school. You just have to want to have a relationship with God, and he'll say yes, because he's already said yes to all of us. So. Well, today we're a second Sunday, so we are preparing the way, listening to the prophets, prepare the way of the Lord, listening to John the Baptist. I hope you are preparing your hearts, preparing your homes. I'm so glad the rain stopped so that we can go get a dry Christmas tree. Well, thank you for walking through wisdom with me.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Susan.
you, Susan.
Yep.
Susan, what is that creature on your wall behind you?
So that is a Carrie McMaster, who you may know from, she used to run the Sunday school. That is like a wire frame of a buck head. It's not real. It's got pink flowers and butterflies on it. I think maybe at one point it held a chia pet or something. I have no idea.
It's marvelous.
She happened to put it on my wall, so I left it there. But beneath it is actually the picture of the pilgrimage that my St. Matthew's family congregation went on this very moment in 2015. And that's just a wonderful remembering, because those of you who've been in the Holy Land really is infused with so much. I mean, it's so layered: history, religion, politics, and you really do feel very much, you feel God very much there. It's a perfect place to welcome Advent. So, well, my friends, go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank
Bill.
you, thank you.
Very much, Susan.
Thank you. Hi, nice to see you, Allie.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
to see
you.
Diana
Thank
and
you,
Ann.
Susan.
Wow. Cruise all
Thanks,
day.
Susan.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.